Far out. Sometimes a memory of a film is better served than revisiting a film. Many months ago, I reviewed Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Even in the title of that video, I described it as a guilty pleasure. It was my introduction to the Friday the 13th series, and still to this day, I have continued to watch that film over and over again, still have the same feelings for it, nothing but love and admiration for the fact that brought me into the series, as well as I just enjoy, even all its faults, I enjoy the film. Around a similar time, let's say about 10 to 12 years ago now, I was introduced to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series through the film Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I remember having fond memories of the film. However, I only ever watched the film the once. I went on to watch the original, the remakes. I've seen my fair share of the series now. Today, I decided, once again, Prime, let's see if they've got Texas Chainsaw on there. I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 in, like I said, 10 to 12 years. Let's revisit it. And boy, do I wish I hadn't, because this movie had me so perplexed. This is written, or at least co-written, and directed by the original's director, Tobe Hooper, a very famous director in the horror community, very praised. While watching this movie, you know it's not a good sign when I start Googling, was Tobe Hooper forced to make this film? Because it wouldn't surprise me. There was a 12-year gap. I was wondering maybe the studios got into his head and said, you know, if you want the next film to be made, you have to make Texas Chainsaw 2. And maybe he just didn't have the love for it. Not the case. So basically, there are some fans of this movie out there, and I know they're going to come at me and say, you know, this is meant to be a dark comedy. It's not meant to be like the original. That's fine. I don't need the film to be identical to the original to have a good time. But what they did to this series is goddamn awful. Now, I have not seen the two sequels that follow this film, so I'm not going to say this is the worst in the series, but from what I have personally seen, it is by far the worst in the series. I'll give props to a couple things before I get into my little rant here. The original film had a much lower budget. This film had a couple million behind it, so set designs on this film, awesome. Leatherface and the family's sort of hideout is like this abandoned amusement park sort of establishment. The gore is on full display. We're in the 80s now. Maybe Tobe Hooper's original would have been as gory as this if, you know, he had the budget. Or maybe not, because, you know, 12 years, there's going to be a lot more advancements. There's going to be a lot more, you know, the whole landscape's different now. People want more shock, more gore. So if you're a gore fan, it is there. That's praise done. Something I did not remember about this film is the fact that Leatherface has a love interest in this film, in the form of the main radio host. There is a scene in this movie where Leatherface sort of has a little bit of softcore porn action with his chainsaw, with this said radio host calming him down, asking him if he's a good boy, as he rubs the chainsaw up her leg, all the way up to the moneymaker. Now, don't get me wrong, this actress, especially for the time, in those denim shorts and the denim boots, she's a bit of a fox. Like, she's hot, man, but I don't know about you, but I'm not watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to see Big Bubba bust a nut, which is what he basically does in this movie. He has this little altercation with her, he raises his chainsaw, and he just grunts. As you can tell, he just nuts in his pants. There was an interesting scene where Leatherface dons the radio host with her own flesh mask. I thought that was pretty gnarly. But then it's immediately ruined with a goofy dance scene where Leatherface dances with her in this sort of, like, I guess, jerky dungeon where he chops up his victims. The moment, there's rarely movies that I want to turn off like midway through, partway through. Even if it's bad, I grip my teeth and just power through. But it's right after this little dance number that I was so close to turning this movie off. The radio host co-worker, who we have seen bludgeoned to death by Chop Top, another character we'll get into later. I'm talking repeatedly hit over the head with a hammer over and over again. His body is then put into a truck, transported. Then Leatherface proceeds to skin him, skins part of his leg, skins part of his ribs, genuinely chops his entire face off, decides to resurrect himself and start talking. I nearly rage quit. I'm just like, I can't. I know I know this movie's already far-fetched, but this is just too much for me. I'm just like, I can't believe you brought this man back. Chop Top is the main character that I remember from back in the day. Pretty unique character, obviously. I think the concept of Chop Top is quite interesting, with this character that picks at his own skin and eats himself. But his constant yammering is just goddamn annoying. Once again, in this same scene that I had been talking about when he is beating this man to death, he just keeps repeating the line, "Time for incoming mail, time for incoming mail." What does that mean? What are we doing this for? Like, is it just because it's an 80s thing and they needed a catchphrase, needed something to say? I feel like that can really sum up this whole movie. In concept, there are concepts to this movie that on paper sound interesting, but the execution is so poor. It actually has me baffled that a movie this bad can come from the original director of a movie so great. Once again, there will be fans of this movie out there. That's fine, each to their own, but this was a suffering watch to me. I hated it. I really just wish I left well enough alone and just kept the memory, man. I don't know. Have you guys had a similar experience with a film that you remember loving, and on the rewatch you were just in disbelief in the fact that you liked it in the first place? Yeah, it's just a disappointing time. It was a disappointing watch. I came off the highs of watching the stuff, and I was enjoying the 80s sort of corniness to the horror genre. This one was just bad, man. I mean, honestly, just bad. I would not recommend watching this. It's not, you can't even hate watch this one. It's not guilty pleasure. It's just dog shit. But if you enjoyed the review and you enjoyed the rant, also thank you for just letting me get this off my chest. Leave this video a like, add it to your favorites, and subscribe. And I will see you with some more horror movie reviews in the future.